Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Chat and Games, our episode number 3. My name is Melvin Rodriguez. I'm the host of this Nintendo podcast, and alongside me is the sexy voice in the business, Matthew Howard.
I am revoking my title to Geralt from Fire Emblem Three Houses.
No, that title...
Have you heard that man speak?
It's beautiful. Well,
when he narrates at the start of every month, oh, it's just so soothing.
Marvelous. You're playing the game in English, right? Just to
yes,
make
of
sure.
Course.
Okay. Well, I haven't heard the Japanese voice. For all I know, the Japanese voice could be amazing. All right. Anyway, so for those of you just joining us, this is your first episode. This is a Nintendo podcast that we post every week. We try to record it every Tuesday, live on Twitch, and then it will go on other services around the globe. So if you want it on audio, it will go on SoundCloud. We finally got approved on iTunes, so that's a big POG. POG is a term for Twitch. I'm a Twitch streamer, chat. Sorry. Anyway, but if you want it on video, it will be up live, not live. It will be up on YouTube, and it's all fun and games. It will be broken down into the different topics, and one video per topic will be released in the upcoming week. So the audio will come out first, and then videos on YouTube every subsequent day. What we're trying to do is streamline the pipeline so that the audio comes out the next day that we recorded it, and then the videos a day after subsequently. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Anyway, for today, what we got for you is more Fire Emblem, because that's what we've all been playing through the entire weekend. Some of us more than others. And so
yeah.
So we're gonna be talking about our Fire Emblem first impressions. We're gonna start with the story, then we're gonna dive into a little bit of the gameplay, and then afterwards, the latter half or third of the podcast, we will be talking about the newly announced character.
Newly announced. Well, it was announced a while ago.
Okay,
newly released.
Thank you. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, newly released character, hero from the Dragon Quest series in Smash Brothers as a DLC. Right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, man. Thank you for making sure that I say things correctly. In any case, what about we get started? Let's talk about our Fire Emblem basically journey so far. So I'm just gonna start by saying that I started I think Friday night, but I only been playing like a chapter a day. Right now I'm in the battle of chapter 4. That's where I'm at, and I'm around like 8.5 hours or so. And how about you, Matt? What about you?
I don't know how many hours I'm at, but I just finished the battle of chapter 8. So I'm on the prep phase for chapter 9.
While we were speaking, by the way, while we were setting up for this podcast, this guy was still playing. He couldn't put it down. So let's talk
There are people who have played a lot more than me. There are people who have beaten multiple routes.
That is insane to me. Like when I hear some of the hours that people have put into this game, but in a way, that's a good sign for the status of this game. So what are your thoughts, like your overall thoughts so far, Matt?
I don't think I've ever wanted so badly to replay a game before I've even finished it for the first time.
Oh, wow, that's a big praise, including previous Fire Emblems, right?
Yeah, and a large part of that is just because a lot of the prep stuff, now that I know what I'm doing, I just think back like, oh man, I could have done so much better.
Well, the thing is, at the beginning, you cannot play optimally since you don't know exactly what you need to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, like, I want to see the other story perspectives and whatnot.
Exactly.
And all that. But yeah, I am already looking forward to playing again. And I've yet to even complete the game once.
You haven't even gone through the time skip, right? Like
No.
That's not been a thing yet. For all we know, after the time skip, this game could be horrible. We don't know that yet.
Yeah. Well, from what I've heard, it's still good.
Okay. So, well, that's good to hear. So far, we both chose the Golden Deer, just to make sure. And that's led by the wonderful boy, Claude. Did I say it correctly? Yeah, okay. What are your thoughts on Claude so far?
I like Claude a lot. I
Yeah?
think he's a lot of fun. Just his dialogue and personality in general, as well as he sort of has a bit of a mystery surrounding him. With most Fire Emblem lords, you typically know like exactly where they came from, who their parents were, their royalty of some sort. With Claude, that's not exactly the case, because he is recognized as an heir to this great house in the Leicester Alliance, but there was a point in time when that house was thought to not have any heirs, and then suddenly Claude just showed up out of nowhere.
Supposed to be the grandson, right? Not even a direct
Yeah.
descendant.
Yeah, so we don't totally know where Claude comes from, and I have a few ideas based on some of the supports that I've seen for him, but thus far in the story, nothing has been directly confirmed. So yeah, it's fun.
Claude for me is such an interesting character. Everything that I just realized today that I had to go into my menu to go into the support so I can actually see his conversations with everybody else, and I had a lot that I had to get through.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But his conversations are just the best. Like the way he is, his personality is great. I like his background in terms of like what you said in like novelty or royalty.
Yeah, and he doesn't act much like a noble, which is a bit of a point of contention with certain other characters.
Oh yeah. But he doesn't act like a noble because he was never a noble. He technically took the reins, or he was found a year ago or something before when the story takes place. And before that, he was just with his mother and his parents and like living a normal life like a commoner.
Well, you say that, but I wouldn't be so quick to say it was a normal life.
That's what it's been implied so far. That's what it's been implied so far, based on the knowledge that I gathered.
All right.
It's been said.
Based on his support with Hilda, it doesn't sound like he quite has a normal life.
That is sad. That is very true though. In terms of since we're talking about the students, let's talk about the students first. Then we'll dive into a little bit of what the beginning of the story was like.
Yes, we can give our impressions on the Golden Deer at least, since we've all seen a bit of them.
Yeah. So for me, okay, my favorite boy is Raphael. Like,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Raphael's pretty good. I was a bit worried initially when I started talking to him, and all he really talked about was meat and muscles.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily that he's a especially deep character, but he plays so well off everyone else in the game.
He's a great support for everybody.
I just love him. All his supports have been fantastic.
If he was a solo character by itself, then it would not. I don't think it would play as well. It's like, oh, it's just this giant guy that likes to eat. But the fact that his conversation is so different from everybody else, it makes
and he's just such like a nice, genuine guy, and that really comes through in a lot of his supports. The Ignatz one in particular.
Yes, and what I like about him too is that he's the typical jockey. Like in the modern era, he's the buff guy that likes to eat and it's like bulk up and everything like that. But he's a genuinely nice guy. It's like it reminded me of Hodor if Hodor actually spoke. From Game of Thrones, by the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that has been my favorite of the Golden Deer so far. What about you?
I think my favorite is Claude, but
okay.
Ignoring that for a sec, I am really enjoying Lorenz.
Lorenz, are you kidding me? That guy?
Lorenz is effectively the rival to Claude. He likes to talk about how he will be the one leading the Leicester Alliance in the future.
Yeah.
Very pompous, very like self-confident, but he's very like set in his status as a noble, and he like fully believes that nobles are superior to common folk, but at the same time, he takes his duty to protect the common folk very seriously, and I think that's a really interesting dynamic.
I like the dynamic. I don't like the way he speaks. I don't know if it's the voice actor particularly, or just the way that he like portrays himself, but I do like the fact that he actually cares about the common folk, and he actually wants to be a good leader. Like he wants to be the next
in spite of how clearly flawed he is as a person. And that's the other thing I like is he's got a lot more room for growth than some of these characters, and a lot more ways to clash with other characters because he isn't necessarily the greatest person.
Oh no, absolutely not. He's very fashionable. I will give you that.
I kind of enjoy supports like that where it's two characters who maybe don't get along so well, and maybe they can both grow from interacting with each other.
Yeah. You know what we need to teach these kids though is some respect for their leader, because these people just bashing the Avatar so much.
Just talking about how weird and
you are expressionless, so I can't tell what you're doing.
Expressionless and quiet. Yeah. I actually like this take on the Avatar better than the last few
I agree
attempts.
with that. Yeah.
It's certainly better than just them being praised constantly for no real reason.
Or putting them in Smash for everything.
But yeah, I actually Byleth, or however you pronounce.
Whatever. Yeah, Byleth.
They don't seriously annoy me that much, and I believe I said that was my biggest concern with this game, was that the Avatar would get on my nerves.
Mm-hmm.
And Sothis doesn't really bother me either. She was another one I was kind of worried would get annoying.
Who's her?
That's the girl in your head.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Hair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm back with you.
So far, I don't really mind either of them. They're pretty perfectly fine for this story, I would say.
The girl is still very mysterious to me. I get, but that's part of it. The whole.
I just got a big reveal about her, but I can't talk about it. So
no, bad. So those are the top students that we have, at least for us. In terms of, let's talk about a little bit on the premise of the story then. So, the beginning, how the whole story started, you were with your dad, Gerald, right?
Yep.
And basically you encounter this group of students, which are, why would you leave the most important three people?
Well, it's because Claude ran away and then the other two followed.
Yeah.
Was what they said.
True.
Claude tried to run away and Dimitri assumed that he was acting as a distraction for the good of the rest of the class and followed him.
Yeah, totally. That's why Claude is just the best, like out of the three. I don't know. Again, I haven't played the other two stories, I wouldn't be able to tell you, but he's the most fun one at least.
Yeah.
And then one thing that it didn't sit well with me, or it was kind of a bit weird, is how after 20 years, apparently Gerald disappeared on a fire, pretended to be dead, right?
Yeah.
And after that amount of time, all of a sudden the Knights found him, and he's just like, oh yeah, it's my duty to come back and do it. Then why did you disappear to begin with? What, like, if you feel so attached, or like, do you feel like it's your duty to fulfill, to protect the church and be the
I don't know
knight?
if I didn't get the feeling that he felt all that strongly about it, but he's just like, okay, you found me out, I guess I gotta go back now.
Yeah, but it just seems like, okay, first of all, he's supposed to be the greatest knight, so they didn't even put any resistance. He was like, oh yeah, let's go back now. I'll take my kids.
He's not gonna fight them. He doesn't consider them an enemy, really.
But he was so, he didn't even like fight.
He's very passive, and the impression I've kind of got of Gerald a bit further down the road is he's a bit of a weirdo, honestly.
A little bit, yeah.
Like there's a bit with Alois, who was his like first sort of squire, or not his first, because he had a squire before Alois, we find out, who died of the plague. Ooh. And then he made Alois his squire immediately upon seeing him, because he just looked like the squire that died, and that's the only reason.
I mean, he's certainly an odd fella. I do not believe that he's our biological father by a long shot, but I think the game kind of like implies that a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard to say, and like, he doesn't remember how old he is. There's a lot of sort of weirdness going on with him, so him acting a bit odd at the start of the game doesn't really bother me, because that kind of just feels like his character.
I mean, it kind of, yes, but then, okay, that was the first part, okay, that kind of bothered me. Second part, there's this kid, son of a mercenary, I guess. Well, he was the greatest knight before, all right, but he finds that he joins he just kind of walks into the church and he's like, okay, you're a professor, and you're like,
yeah,
sure, sounds good.
I mean, I agree, but I feel like you're supposed to think that's weird. They sort of address it, and the Rhea's right-hand man guy is just like, this makes no sense. Why would we ever do this?
Yeah.
So she clearly has some reason for this, and I feel like I can't really comment on it until I find out what that is.
Okay. But again, the beginning, it just felt a bit rushed, in my opinion.
I do agree it felt a bit rushed, specifically the part where they introduce the three main characters. It's just like, boom, they're there.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, pick your Pokemon.
It's like you walk outside your tent and the three main characters of the game are just standing in front of you.
Just having fun. You know, I thought that you had to pick the house right there and then, because
they ask you like, oh, who do you like the best, basically.
They basically tell you, like, pick your side right away. I'm like, excuse me, like, let me get to know you a little bit. Like, let's exchange some words.
Yeah,
like,
they do kind of have a bit where Edelgard and Dimitri are trying to recruit you right away, and then Claude's just like, wow, I was gonna, like, at least talk to you on the whole way back before making my pitch, but if this is how we're doing it,
might as well do it right there and then. And it turns out that that's not the actual decision. So Chad, if at the beginning you think you're gonna pick your decision, it's fine. You have some time to think about it, and then after a few interactions with the leaders and stuff, you get to pick. So if you haven't played the game yet, calm down. It's okay. Don't freak out like I did. And I just like, okay, well, I guess I'm going with the Golden Deer. I didn't even get to know the other two.
Yeah, they introduce you to all the students before forcing you to pick. Speaking of which, were there any other students from outside your house that left an impression?
I mean, for me, she already left an impression in my heart and in my thoughts.
Yeah.
before the game even started. Just because of the way it's Petra. She's from the Black Eagles, and she is a foreigner, a noble from a different land. And it's just the way that she speaks. It's kind of relatable. I make a lot of mistakes when I speak English. She actually trying her best to speak English. I kind of just accepted it that I'm not gonna understand most of it.
The one thing that bothers me about the way she speaks is that she has the same accent as everyone else, but she just pronounces, or like, she doesn't pronounce stuff differently. She just says things in the wrong order.
Yeah, or grammatically.
She kind of has like broken English. Yeah, I feel like she should have had a different accent, but maybe they didn't want to tie her to any kind of real world accent or make up a fake one, so they just went with this. I don't know.
And it's interesting because why would that be a point of contention? I don't know. Again, I don't want.
Maybe they're just playing it safe.
Yeah, I mean, they could make her Spanish. I would be okay with that. I give them my stamp of approval for that.
But yeah, I think personally I would have preferred if they had a different accent than the rest of the cast.
Oh, but she's so studious. She wants to be the best that she can possibly be. There's a weird thing about her birthmark that we asked her about in one of the dialogues, and I was like, oh, okay, well, things are getting spicy right now. And it's just like level C supports, which was kind of interesting. Yeah,
for me, the standout was Ferdinand, because he's just Lawrence, but on the Black Eagles. He's just so full of himself and so like.
Is he the skirt chaser, or is he?
No.
Or is that...
He's like the kind of pretty boy on the Black Eagles with the orange hair.
Yeah, okay.
Who during the mock battle is just like, I'm gonna charge in because I'm the son of this count and I'm the greatest. And he's such an idiot, and I love it. And he's he so truly believes that he is like superior to Edelgard. And that's just hilarious to me. He has like this one-sided rivalry with her where, like Lawrence, he sort of thinks like, oh, I should be the one in charge of this territory in the future, but they're clearly not as cut out for it as they believe. And it's just really entertaining to me. So I'm working on recruiting him. He needs heavy armor though and is not cooperating, but eventually.
But again, so one other aspect that I wanted to talk about is recruiting. Which one is the first one that you recruited?
Ingrid.
Why?
Because she was the first one who accepted.
Okay, fair enough. I like you didn't go for her specifically.
I went for her because she supports Claude. So her, Annette, and Petra all have supports with Claude. So I decided I wanted all of them. Okay. I decided I wanted Ferdinand, and then there were a few others who I was close to getting anyway, so I figured I'd pick up. So I got Bernadetta, I'm close to getting Felix, so I think I'm gonna pick him up as well. And Dorothea, I'm also close to getting to, so I'll probably get them
as well. All right. By the way, chat, if or anybody listening on audio or on YouTube, if you're confused about all these different names that we're talking about right now,
So is Melvin. Melvin only understood 50% of the names I just said.
Okay, I understand the names. I need to match the name with the face. I'm a visual person. You tell me the face, and I'm like, okay, I know who you're talking about. I know their personality. You tell me their name, it takes me a little while. Okay, like I was trying to memorize them by, for example, I think I told you this, that there was like there's a girl with purple hair, and I was like, okay, she has violet hair, B for Bandera, but it's not Bandera, it's a B, so Bernadetta is the name of her wife.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how I memorize names. That's how hard it is for me to memorize names. But anyway, I'm working on Petra because, well, we already know why. I'm also working on Dorothea.
Yeah.
And also on Casper.
Okay, so you're a fan of the Black Eagles.
Yeah, I'm
more than the Blue Lions.
I'm just recruiting everybody. Like, poor Erubar is not gonna have an empire to rule after this. But anyway, so yeah, that's sort of like a little bit of impressions on the story and the initial story and the characters per se. There's a lot more. There's a lot to go through. If you want to get into the lore a lot, there's even a library that you can go into.
Yeah.
In the hub and start learning about all of that. That's, if you are into that, go right ahead. I actually started reading a bit about it, but I don't want to just dedicate the podcast to that. So,
I'm just gonna say 8 chapters in, I already feel like this is a huge step up in terms of writing than the 3DS games.
That is great.
So that's really nice to see.
To be fair, the bar wasn't set too hard.
No, it was not, but I'm still very happy with the writing so far.
Yes, and the character interactions are great.
Yeah.
I spent.
Yeah, there isn't a character in this game yet that I actively hate. So.
Well.
That doesn't happen very often with Fire.
I don't know about Felix, man. I don't know. There's something about him.
Felix is a bit much. I feel like I don't know enough about him to really say one way or the other.
That's what I said. Like, maybe, but he's leaning in the negative side.
But yeah, there were characters I was worried about. I was really worried Manuela was going to be another like Camilla type character, but she's actually not too bad.
No.
They sort of addressed that she's just a hot mess, and she's kind of treated like a creep for flirting with the students.
Yeah, and the teachers and everybody, the knights.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, it's essentially that kind of character. The same way I thought Dorothea was gonna be like that too, when they show her like just a picture of them, but it's like no, Dorothea just likes to sing and she has a nice hat.
Yeah, I mean she is very flirty, but she's sort of got a reason for that, which she goes into in her supports.
Funny enough, the girl that exposes the most skin is the Avatar character. If you actually got the picture.
Yeah, the girl one. We're both playing as the male bailiff. One thing I found out that I thought was kind of funny is if you play as a girl, apparently you can immediately recruit Sylvain, the womanizer guy from the Blue Lions.
Actually, is that a thing? Oh, that's hilarious! I didn't even know that. That's awesome. All right, let's call it there.